Well, here we are at Pearl Lake finally. And of course the thunderstorms are here. So we're not going to stay super long today. But I just wanted to conclude. Look at Sazi. She's sweet. She's sleeping in her carrier. And I have a Pearl Lake t-shirt on underneath all this. You can't see it from here because I have Sazi. I'm wearing Sazi today. So anyway, I just wanted to wrap up by saying that hopefully I've helped fill some gaps in if you don't know much about the history of Pearl Lake. John Kelly Hart and M. Pearl Hart came out west from New England. John Hart came first in the late 1800s, and he was in Rawlins, Wyoming, and learned how to take care of stock in order to support himself, and he grew and he grew and he grew and eventually ended up with 3 sheep companies that started up at Yellowstone and ended up down here. Pearl Lake was the summer headquarters before it was a lake. So this area was what they selected for their summer headquarters. They purchased the cabin, or they bought the cabin. I'm not sure quite how that worked, whether they had somebody build it for them or what, in 1926, which was the earliest that they could do that because of the range wars. So that cabin is now at Elk River Guest Ranch, which is further down towards Clark and Steamboat. I guess it was quite a deal the day they moved that. The Icavettos now live on the property that was once my family's. And so my granddad married my grandmother after he was already here. He went back to New England for his mother's funeral and came back with Pearl. So I think maybe that was a bit of an arranged marriage. I don't know for sure. So they lived here and had their summer headquarters here, and again wintered in Rawlins. Their primary home was Rawlins. They were summer guests here or summer visitors here every year. And when I was a kid, we came up from Estes Park and spent a large part of the summer with my grandmother. So this place has a special place in my heart, but my mom even more so. And so in the 60s, Bud Hurd, who was the forest ranger over the National Park Service in Hunts Peak Lake, as I said in my earlier video, was the one. He befriended Grandma, and he used to come over occasionally. I can sort of remember a routine, like Sunday evening or something, and he had pie. That's more people here than there used to be. And so Bud Hurd was the one over Hunts Peak Lake, and he was the one with the vision for this area to become more of a tourist area. So in the 60s, Grandma decided to sell to them, and the lake was built, and I can remember it filling, and I remember being upset because Lester Creek used to be here, where the lake is. And my cousin and I liked to frog hunt, and we were afraid we wouldn't be able to frog hunt anymore. They packed our lunch, and we were gone for hours and hours and hours frog hunting, my cousin and I. So this is a beautiful little spot with the thunderhead overhead. So I'm going to head back, and I'm going to see if I can get some pictures around the campground in the safety of my car. So anyway, long story short, the cabin stayed with Grandma. The area stayed with Grandma until she sold out to the Park Service in the 60s, and my family hung on to that property into the 70s. My aunts and a cousin, but they found it too much to maintain, and they sold out to the Icavettos. And eventually, the area that was sold to the National Park Service, was sold. I don't know how all that works with the property, but it ended up being part of the state. This was a national recreation area for a long time before it became a state park. And so let me do the 180 or 360 or whatever that is before we get struck by lightning. The campground over here used to be our family dump. the sky was getting clearer, and I thought we could do something, but we can't. So unless I have time to come back in the morning, that may be our visit for Pearl Lake for this week. But let me pan back, and this beautiful lake, and that's Mount Farwell, which was Mama's favorite mountain.